All right, first podcast.
We're ready.
I'm Corinne.
I'm Steph.
We are with Free Press Fail, and we are here to drink and pick up where the Free Press fails.
Like always?
Yes. We're going to talk about the top news and cover stories how we wish they were covered, which they never are.
Never. Well, we're also TV ready.
And let's just get into it.
All right, so we just actually pre-gamed at Blackwell Hitch. Blackwell Hitch?
I think it's Blackwell.
Blackwell Hitch in Alexandria. It's like one of the only places with outdoor seating in Old Town, which is why the Wharf is kicking their ass. Because it's mainstream. But it's great, because that's what we do every time before. We're going to try out cocktails for you guys and also talk about how the fake news media is ruining your life.
Yep. And this week it was Sparkling Rosé, and who knows what it'll be next week.
This week it was Sparkling Rosé, which does not ruin your life. It improves your life. We'll see you next time.
So far.
The top news, though, obviously, we're all talking about Brett Kavanaugh. Will he be impeached? Will he not be impeached? Is it a real story? What are your thoughts?
Well, New York Times posted the story, forgot to mention that the source cited in the book was actually a New York Times reporter, which is kind of a key thing. And
I did not know that.
And the accusation was made by a Clinton lawyer who actually went up against Brett Kavanaugh their whole career. They're kind of on the same path, basically our liberal foes in our career paths. So they've never been really friendly. And the person they say was the victim of the so-called assault says that she does not think it happened. So those are just kind of key facts that they forgot to report.
Oh, just a couple. So I clearly did not follow stories closely. Corinne is our intellectual maven, really. I'm technically a bipartisan consultant, but so I read this article, right? I actually read it so late that I read it post edit. So they never retracted the story, but they posted an edit at the top of the article. And it was in a previous version, we forgot to mention that the alleged victim denies the claim, and every other person we interviewed also denied the claim. I'm like,
what kind of editor's note is that?
That's a retraction. I mean, it's not a story. It's completely insane.
No, and now the writers of the story going on The View and saying oh, it was the digital team's fault and they just wrote a misleading tweet that was misworded. It was how do you misword a complete
You literally
assault?
wrote an entire story that was this story is not corroborated even a little. It reminds me of that Rolling Stone story. Do you remember with the girl who made up people in their fraternity?
Oh yeah,
it's the same story except it's Kavanaugh.
What was her name? I can't remember.
I think
it was Molly or something.
It was
reminds
fake
me of that,
news.
Though. Actually, maybe the first fake news.
It was original fake news, and it's just Kavanaugh is such a target because they just cannot stand that even fucking Susan Collins voted for him, right? Okay, Susan Collins even. So clearly...
But now Kamala Harris and Elizabeth Warren, I think even Pete Buttigieg has called for his impeachment. And I might be fake news on that last one, but I know for sure Kamala and Elizabeth have called for his impeachment based on this claim, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
So they can't let a good story die. They thought they were really going to make it with that fake news in the last year, and they're just really not willing to give it up.
They're just doubling down. To not retract that story, I mean, that's... it's an if.
But next story.
Next up, our favorite news outlet, BuzzFeed, posted an article about this young lady. And I say this seriously, this young woman almost drowned in the Rio Grande, and she had waded in. She's a Honduran refugee, and she waded into the Rio Grande and almost drowned. She did not drown. She was safe. She was fine. And BuzzFeed posted this very dark story about how it's Donald Trump's fault that this girl who, by her own account, does not know how to swim, waded into a massive river and almost was washed away. She wasn't washed away, so we're not talking about a death. But it is somehow Donald Trump's fault that this girl who doesn't know how to swim almost drown, but
because
did
of
not
our
actually
asylum
drown.
policies, right?
Right, because of asylum policies, she didn't get asylum.
Yeah, they think every Honduran should receive asylum in America despite not having the proper credentials to do so, and if not, and then they drown, it's Donald Trump's fault.
No, I'm sorry. She did not drown.
If they almost drowned.
She almost drowned. She's actually perfectly fine and very healthy. No injuries.
I think maybe we should start some kind of program for floaties for these people, because this is so ridiculous. I'll prevent all of the stories about drowning in the Rio Grande, because we're going to sell floaties, like, right on the river.
I do think it's interesting that the article and the hard-hitting news journalists that are at BuzzFeed did not seek to blame the Honduran government for the situation of this girl nearly, but not actually, drowning. Because the Honduran government is who chased her out of her home to begin with their corrupt policies and the lack of any safety
It wasn't global.
whatsoever.
Are you sure it wasn't global warming?
Oh,
because AOC does think that it is global warming.
Climate change that caused her to get into the water despite not knowing how to swim.
I think that's what reliable sources like Salon.com would say also. So we really need to give a shout out to them on that.
Vox.com. Actually, this was BuzzFeed's hard-hitting journalism. We don't want to take away from them. Girl nearly drowns, does not drown. That's a top story for our week.
Still Donald Trump's fault.
Hard-hitting.
As we know. As most things are. Also, just kind of a weird top news story this week. Joe Biden, like a story of him, I think 2017, right?
Yeah.
2017, he told a story to a group of reporters about a time that he was a lifeguard at an all-black pool in Delaware, guys, where there are a lot of all-black pools.
Constantly.
And he got into a little, like,
a
tiff with
a disagreement
with a gang leader. His name was Corn Pop.
Corn Pop! Corn Pop is my new hero. He might be my new spirit animal.
The toughest gang leader I've ever heard of.
Oh. The streets have heard.
He kicks him out of the pool, and everyone tells Joe, like, this guy, like, wields a straight razor, like, you mess with the wrong guy, and they decide to meet in the parking lot. Like, Joe Biden asked Trump to meet in the parking lot that one time, but he was meeting with Corn Pop in this parking lot. And Joe Biden just picks up a chain.
He has a chain on him,
abandoned chain, and he wraps it in a towel.
He's a street guy.
He was connecting with the black community, by his own words, by working at this all-black pool in Delaware.
He wanted to understand black culture.
So he tells Corn Pop, who's wielding a straight razor, I will wrap this chain around your head before you ever cut me. And Corn Pop was like, whoa, bro.
Okay, man.
Now we're friends. So they hug it out, like, become, like, best friends. And this is a story that Joe Biden tells with a straight face, like, almost as seriously as that time he told us to go to a website that was actually a text link. Very does not realize that this story sounds crazy at all. And
so we're like, this is not a true story.
It's clearly the fakest story.
This reminds me of when Ben Carson told that actually, like, corroborated story about there was, like, a stabbing with a belt. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
He was like,
because he was into bad stuff in high school. So Ben Carson, an actual
black man who was a part of a community with an influence that he describes as problematic, was in some sort of gang fight as a kid, and no one believes him because he's such a nerd. And that is true, Ben. You are a nerd.
I'm a nerd too. It's okay,
it's
Ben.
Fair. But there's, like, actually police reports about it, so it actually can be corroborated, right? It reminds me of that story, except that people were hilarious because the internet is a great place. And so they rewrote that passage of the book to be an interaction between Ben Carson and a bear. And it goes like, Ben meets the bear and he's like, brother bear, be my friend. And then the bear walks away. The bear story is what reminds me of the Corn Pop story.
Corn Pop would be the bear in this situation.
Corn Pop is the bear.
But also Corn Pop and the bear are both not real, so that they have in common.
It's like, that's what they have in common.
Yeah.
But then, so the I think it was Washington Post goes out of their way to corroborate this story, despite the fact that no one ever believed Ben Carson, an actual black man. So they're trying to validate Joe Biden's connection to the black community by validating the story, right? So they, like, determine that Corn Pop is in fact real, and they speak to Corn Pop's sister. And Corn Pop's sister is like, Corn Pop is dead, man. And they're like, does he know Joe Biden? She's like, maybe.
Probably.
I mean, she literally was like, maybe. I think I've heard him mention Joe Biden.
I will say, at least, where the Washington Post. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry,
It wasn't the
Washington Times. The Washington Post was like not humorous about this. Twitter was super funny and realized obviously that Corn Pop is fake.
Corn Pop is
and I
fake.
have to say, some of the funniest Twitter commentary that I've read in a while, maybe since the Ben Carson Bear story.
Brother
so
Bear.
Highly
Brother Corn
recommend.
Pop.
I have like a really funny thread retweeted on my Twitter that like I was literally dying reading because Corn Pop's not real.
Corn Pop is
Definitely a weird story. Fake news went out of their way to
It's
pretend it
like
was real.
if West Side Story was worse. That would be Corn Pop. Like,
Not a good story, guys.
if West Side Story is a story about two white gangs fighting, and Corn Pop is a less realistic version of that story.
Again, at the black community pool of Delaware.
Where Joe Biden is badass enough to be carrying around a bike chain. I just have really
No, he just found
idea.
it in the parking lot. But people, Twitter actually did some great research, and they're like, the community pool that he's talking about was 73% white, so we're really not like sure what he's talking about. So there's some research going on, and it is mostly by the Twitter community as usual. So that
Brother
was
Corn Pop, Brother Bear,
yeah. R.I.P. Corn Pop.
befriend me. All right. We also have good old Corey Lewandowski was on the Hill this week.
Oh man, triggering the libs. I think that was probably the most MAGA AF hearing that I have seen, and there have been a lot with all of this Russia collusion
been a
stuff.
lot. I don't know what he's doing on the Hill, first of all.
No, they
Like,
were
why?
they were trying to start impeachment proceedings by like interviewing Corey Lewandowski. Like
On
he
the
was,
president?
Yes.
Jesus.
Like he was going to be the key to Trump's impeachment.
Oh, if anyone's the key to something, it's Corey Lewandowski.
But like House Democrats cannot get it together, and I don't know why after hearing, they don't expect like conservatives to come back with any talking points. So like Eric Swalwell was like himself, like the whole hearing of like, do you feel guilty? Have you committed crimes? And Corey's like, no, I feel like very safe in my home because I have a lot of guns. And like Eric had no idea what to say. Like I think at one point Corey Lewandowski referred to Eric Swalwell as President Swalwell.
President Swalwell. And the media reports it as this massive success for the left, right? They're like, the left grills Lewandowski. And it's like, man, you watch the hearing and I didn't even know what the hearing was about. That's what a disaster area it was. But also, they look really stupid. I think that I saw at one point that Swalwell's staffers were just holding up a big mirror in the background so that he could like just really visualize what he cares about most.
Much like us in this podcast right now, we are looking at ourselves.
Literally looking at ourselves right now. And it is not a bad view.
I'm getting a lot of like good vibes from looking
I
at myself.
just
I think
feel-
this is how Swalwell feels. Like
This is how he feels every day. No
all
wonder
the
he thought
time.
he could be president. I could be president.
like I'm gonna ask an intern to follow me around with a mirror
Just hold the mirror up with a selfie light.
and a light, please.
Yeah.
I need the lighting.
We need both.
But yeah, it did not go well for the Dems. I think actually Corey, I'm like forever endeared. He did so bomb. I'm more into Corey right now than I have been ever since that time that he assaulted that really annoying reporter.
I think she was a conservative reporter too, but I have no sympathy.
He didn't assault her.
He like kind of grabbed her elbow, but she was being really annoying.
Yeah. Sorry.
Sorry,
I
not
make
sorry.
No apologies.
We saw her at that restaurant that time, and we laughed.
She lost her wallet.
Oh, that's right. I don't even remember her name.
It's
Should not go
okay.
down in
No one
history.
else does either.
All right. I think we are on to
Our next favorite topic. So everything's fake news, but I would say our favorite like fake news or like SJW craziness this week. I think the first one's your favorite, right?
yeah, so President Trump, this was the big thing. It's our favorite because it's the thing that what everyone was talking about. Despite everything going on in the world, what everyone is talking about is that President Trump was in New Mexico courting Hispanics. Depending on which media outlet you read this from, it's like, I think that the words that, if maybe it was Vox or Slate, anyway, one of those used, was in a cringily courting Hispanics.
It's a word, apparently.
They might have said cringy. Regardless. Because he said he made a joke. He has a Hispanic supporter that's with him a lot. And he might even be an advisor, but he was there. And he made a joke. He said, who do you like? No, he said, who do you love more? Hispanics or the country? And then the crowd was like, ha, 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 ha.
country. And he was
country. And the president goes, I don't know, I think I like Hispanics more.
Which was obviously his way to say, like, I love Hispanics so much that I might love them more than America.
And it's also his way of being self-deprecating. Like, he obviously is aware of his persona. But also it's a throwback to one of my favorite moments in political history, which is I love Hispanics with the taco bowl. I think that was the year 2016.
Yeah. I love Hispanics. Double thumbs.
I love Hispanics.
I also love taco bowls, so I was always on board with that.
It's one of my favorite moments in campaign history, and he kind of repeated it today.
Like,
and I respect it.
The thing that bothers me is that the reporting of this whole story is the first thing you saw was like Trump asked people, do they love Hispanics more or this country? And I couldn't find audio for a while, which always makes me suspicious. I was like, oh, really? So I'm seeing a lot of quote tweets and no video when I know there are like 1,200 cameras on Trump. So I had to like look for the video because this was like Monday night in New Mexico.
Right.
Till like Tuesday morning, I could not find a video, which means like to me, I was like, obviously this is fake. He didn't say it. And then I like see the whole context of the video and I was like, obviously he's making this out like.
Right. It was
to
a
love
joke.
Hispanics. It was a joke.
And it was
like maybe poorly phrased, but like Trump is always going to be that person who doesn't phrase things like maybe the best for a soundbite like that.
No.
But like it was ridiculous. It wasn't. He wasn't saying he hates Hispanics, so it was clearly like
I also feel like the media was giving the context that he was trying to make people choose between their heritage and the country, right?
Yeah.
That was the context I think in which they were sort of playing the situation. That is not, it just was nowhere close to that, first of all. Second of all, I can't imagine if we applied that narrative to any other race that we're using, right? I mean, what if they were accusing Trump of saying, who do you care about more, white people or the country? It's like, God, if somebody said white people, it's like, no, that's bad. That's what white nationalism is. I created word. White nationalism, and like, no one likes that. It's not good. I condemn them, by the way, openly, because that'll come up. I condemn white nationalism.
White nationalism, super bad. I'm taking the brave.
We're it's very brave of us.
Taylor
We're saying
Swift
two thumbs all the way down for that.
No place for white
it's
supremacy.
No. But that's my point. It's like, I just think it's a crazy thing to say. Like, of course you're not trying to have somebody choose between their actual ethnicity and their country, because that is an insane thing to do. And the answer is always country.
Yeah.
Country first.
I can't think of one group I like more than America as a whole.
Except, actually, to be fair to the president in the context of Hispanics, they do have Enrique Iglesias. Pitbull, guys. My hero. Of course. And guacamole. So.
Yeah, I think that's maybe like the exact train of thought that Trump was.
I think it was.
Thinking when he said that he was maybe pro-Hispanic. I think he was thinking directly of Pitbull. Mr. Worldwide himself.
Mr. Worldwide. Picture that with a Kodak, guys.
Yeah.
I do every night.
Yes.
Next up, we have your favorite one, which was the SNL comedian who was fired for insensitive jokes.
And now I forgot this guy's name, so I feel really bad.
Me too.
I'm gonna tweet it at some point.
Famous comedian.
He wasn't super famous. He's a new cast member of SNL. Now I can't remember his name.
Let's call him Shane.
Yeah, maybe I should make better notes. That's a note for next time. But like, apparently people found his old stand-up. They said it was too offensive because he touched on like racial stereotypes and like gender norms and all of the stuff that actually every comedian touches on, because that's what makes comedy relatable and funny. And now he's not going to be on SNL, so there's that.
Well, first of all, like, big loss. Some other white guy isn't on SNL. It's like, God, y'all think you're hilarious,
also,
first of all.
Who watches SNL anymore? I don't think they've been funny in the last 5 years.
Actually, Kate McKinnon's Hillary Clinton is next level great. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. Also, Alec Baldwin's Donald Trump is fantastic. But my point is, every single basic white guy on that show thinks they're hilarious. So I'm like, okay.
I'm just like really waiting. I'm really waiting for these same social justice warriors that were calling for this guy to be fired to like look up the stand-up of basically every other comedian who has ever been on SNL, because I think that they would find some kind of problem with that, which is kind of the problem with the whole social justice warrior thing.
It's not fun. It's not fun.
You guys are ruining everything.
They're like not the life
so
of
far
the
they
party.
haven't touched baseball, and it's the only thing I can love still.
I mean, honestly, Andrew Yang, who it allegedly offended, was even like, you probably shouldn't fire this guy, and it's not really that big of a deal.
Yang Gang.
Yang Gang for life?
Yeah.
Right?
I mean,
apply
maybe.
for them.
I heard that he raised like $500,000 in his
I think you heard that because he said it.
Yeah, he said that he raised $500,000 because he asked people to donate $1 to be entered into like some kind of lottery to win $120,000 per year for him. And now he's like raising more than Kamala probably, which I think she's actually going down in the polls. We'll see where she ends up.
Oh, Kamala. Who said, it was, I'm going to quote him. Charlie Cook said, Kamala Harris is a messenger, a perfect messenger in search of a good message. I was like, truth.
I mean,
that is true.
I have my doubts on perfect messenger, but
well,
I like messengers who put less people in prison. That's my favorite kind of messenger, but you know.
Burn. All right. I think our I
think so. Also, social justice warriors gone crazy. They've gone after like powerhouse Lizzo, body positive mentor.
Oh, I forgot about this.
Yeah. So go ahead. You could summarize.
Lizzo. Okay. Lizzo orders Postmates, and she alleges that her driver ate her food. So she tweeted about it to Postmates, like, my driver ate my food. And the SJWs flip out on Twitter, allegedly. Questionable. And they're like, oh my God, you can't just be turning people into their bosses, Lizzo. Not cool. Socialism for life. Worker power. And it's like, okay, if anybody ever ate my food from Postmates, I would lose my shit. Like, no. If I'm ordering Postmates, it's probably the middle of the night and I'm probably starving.
I'm always really hungry. And I always need those French fries more than anyone else because, like, trust me, I drink enough to need them.
Right.
So...
And I call fake news on this, not only
because...
It's actually
just public endangerment to eat my French fries when I'm ordering Postmates. No, I need those.
It's a crime. I'm Team Lizzo on this, first of all, but also I actually really challenge that anybody really cared. I think they pulled like 3 tweets to make this article and be like, Lizzo's anti-socialism.
It's like
and it's
people
like,
canceling
okay.
Lizzo, which
Cancel
is the whole
Lizzo. It's like, okay,
which they always do to make things a bigger thing. Actually, just a couple weeks ago, when SoulCycle's CEO or some investor in SoulCycle was hosting a fundraiser for Trump, and they made it out like every SoulCycle writer is protesting SoulCycle. Like, I don't know. I know a lot of people who go to SoulCycle because I'm kind of a SoulCycle cult member, and I don't know anyone who is actually boycotting. And actually, everybody tweeting, I can basically guarantee has never been to SoulCycle. They were saying things like, "Oh, I cancel my membership." SoulCycle has no memberships, but when the news reported it and reported on all of the tweets, they're confirming everybody who has ever gone there. And it's like, no, can you confirm anyone that's hate tweeting Lizzo was actually her fan in the first place?
Right.
No, but they're everyone wants to cancel her. It's really same 6 people mad at everybody all of the time.
It truly, they're mad at
and they
everyone.
always have love Trump's hate, free Palestine in their Twitter profiles. And it's okay guys,
why a fan great till they gotta be great? Am I right? All right.
Truth hurts, Lizzo.
Truth hurts, man. All right. I think we're on to
Fave
Trump moments. So, Newsweek did an article. This was a real article that was posted in the news this week about Donald Trump.
Was it in the news?
It was in the news. This is a real thing.
It was in the news. Okay, good.
That someone posted. That was a real thing about how Donald Trump is this terrible human being. That when Donald Trump was a kid, he used to go over to his old ass aunt's house. I'm sorry, they keep using the swears, but it has to happen. And he used to steal pancakes. She alleges, this distant cousin of Donald Trump alleges that he used to come over and take pancakes and not be super nice to her. This was a news story.
Honestly, the worst part of that is that pancakes are just not the best food.
Homemade
to steal.
Pancakes are delicious. And
no,
I
mean I would if it was Trump steals bagels. It's I'm on your side. He's stealing chocolate. I'm with you. Waffles, French toast. I would be on board for that.
Taco bowls.
100%.
I actually love pancakes made at home. Restaurant pancakes are too cakey. They soak up the syrup.
I'm just not a pancake fan. So maybe
a waffle.
Yes,
You know
definitely.
what? I'm actually
feeling waffles.
You know what? You're right. I'm a little disappointed in President Trump.
Yeah,
over
that is
this
the one
story.
thing. It's like we're making America great, but like we
Not
still
one pancake at a time, bro.
no pancakes, like mostly waffles at a time.
Mostly waffles. All right. Oh, also, he had, it was, I'm going to get this poor baseball player's name wrong because it is Mariano Rivera. Apparently goes by Sandman in baseball. And so he came into a Metallica song and the media flipped out about it and thought it was really dorky. And it was.
But it was awesome.
But it was also awesome. So look up that video.
Also, I don't know if Metallica MAGAs, but they really should.
They probably should.
They probably do. Shout out Metallica.
Shout out Metallica. And finally, I think we're moving on to our favorite political email and or campaign type
Speaks to my heart.
situation.
I didn't write my favorite this week, but I did get a forward from Stephanie of her favorite email this week, which was from the Trump campaign.
It was. So the Trump campaign sent me an email because I have bought several MAGA hats, which is a donation, so I'm a supporter now. And so they sent me these emails, and this one had a lot of heavy, what is it called when it's personally
Like a
targeted?
first name tag.
Like a first name tag, right? So it was like, I told my campaign people that I wanted to reach out to people who are the most loyal to me from the beginning. And I said, the only person I can think of is Stephanie from Virginia.
Not wrong, though.
And that's true, but also I felt personally loved and accepted by the Trump campaign.
Did you enter to win dinner with Trump?
I did not.
I'm going to.
I did not. I probably should.
I should probably like start doing that just because when else am I going to get to have
It's
dinner?
true.
I've been in DC a long time and I'm still not having dinner with Trump. So
I mean, I have dinner at his restaurant, and that feels like the same
at
thing.
the Trump with Trump is different.
It is a little different.
I saw Ivanka once though.
We saw her from across the room. She blew in like a cool breeze.
Beautiful, smelled like vanilla.
And the whole atmosphere became vanilla.
Yes. Oh, before we were there. Well,
We were younger before.
if only. Well, let's see. I think
that's it.
that's it. So,
Guys, that was the week, man.
that's our first
That's how
one.
the media's been lying to you. We've been telling you the truth.
Yeah, and we'll get better
Right
at
here,
this.
spiritual leaders, truth tellers. Don't you worry about it. I am an ordained minister of the Universal Life Church Online, so
Yeah, if you need anyone to
I
marry
can't
you.
actually lie to you. I can,
Yeah,
but I wouldn't. Not the New York Times.
that's very important.
Mm-hmm.
No, yeah, so send us your favorite fake news stories. We'll talk about them next week. Tweet us. And
We'll credit you.
Yeah.
We'll talk about it. We'll vet them because maybe it's a real news story. Not likely.
not likely. Not from the New York Times.
Send us anything from the New York Times. You're going to be covered.
Yes, for sure. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.